The Packers have stunned the Kansas City Chiefs. The 49ers do something kind of similar to the Eagles, and we're going to talk about head coaching vacancies and what is the best opportunity out there for coaches looking for their big break. That's Ryan Lambert. I'm Tristan Bunn, your two favorite idiots. Welcome to Sports Bluff. What's up, everyone? Welcome into Sports Bluff. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tristan Bunn alongside my friend, my fellow football fool, Ryan Lambert, ready to talk some Week 13 NFL action. Make sure you like the show, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all of that. Ryan, got a lot to talk about tonight, but I guess first and foremost, we're going to start with my Kansas City Chiefs because wasn't a great Sunday night game. Not one of my favorites. I pretty much watched the whole game in a state of disarray, dismay, pissed off, all kinds of stuff. They lost 27-19 to the Packers. Didn't like it.
Let's really talk about the meat and potatoes of this game. Are you sounding the alarms on the Chiefs? What is your concern level heading in to next week?
Concern level's high.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's really high. And you know, I'm not a overreactor. I don't jump the gun. I don't freak out after one little loss or anything. But it's not even the loss, Ryan. It's that I'm not on the team. Well. The Chiefs were physically dominated. They were physically abused by the Green Bay Packers. I thought they were going to file a domestic lawsuit before the game was over. The Packers pushed them around. They did whatever they wanted to do all night long. And what really shocked me, the Chiefs scoring 19 points. If that's shocking you at this point, then you're in denial about who the Kansas City Chiefs are.
It's the defense.
It's the defense. How?
The secondary looked like Swiss cheese, Tristan.
It was the worst that the Kansas City defense has looked all season. Arguably the worst they've looked in 2 seasons because we've talked about the Chiefs a lot on this show. I've said Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to go out there and score 30 points when you have a defense that's holding teams to, on average, like 16, 17 a game. They let Jordan Love do whatever he wanted to with them. And I really credit Matt LaFleur in the play calling because they were able to run the ball with A.J. Dillon, and that set up the play action pass. And Jordan Love looked like a pro. He could do anything he wanted to do out there. And before I toss it to you, I just got to talk about the penalties for a second. Not in a way people expect me to.
There's no way you're going to let that get out of this little discussion, huh?
So obviously, the one everyone's talking about is the no-call pass interference on MVS, which would have given Marquez Valdes-Scantling. It would have given the Chiefs first and goal, inside the 10-yard line with a chance to score and get a 2-point conversion, send it to overtime. Okay, was it an egregious missed call? 100%. Absolutely. The game was full of bad calls on both sides. The roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness call on Patrick Mahomes when he was still in bounds that kept that drive alive, that was a ridiculous call, okay? I'm not going to sit here and cry and whine about penalties, though, because you know my stance on penalties. This is what we always say on the show, and it's just a fact. Play better. Don't put yourself in a position to where you need a call to go a certain way to bail you out. The Chiefs didn't deserve to win that football game, Ryan. If that pass interference call would have came, maybe they would have been able to push it into overtime and steal the win, but they sure didn't deserve it because they were outplayed, outmanned, outdominated for 60 minutes by the Green Bay Packers. And that's just the truth. There is no other way around it. The Chiefs were dominated. They deserved to lose that game. The interception by Patrick Mahomes, that was really the dagger because this version of the Chiefs team has to be perfect. Like Patrick Mahomes has to play perfect for this team to win ball games. He's great, but he's not perfect every single game all year long. So, and if he's not, then they can't win football games, especially when the defense collapses like it did. So I'll give it to you. What do you think about the game? Because I was disgusted, and I don't think this is a championship team, the Chiefs. I really don't.
Right. You can never count Patrick Mahomes out, right? I mean, you can never do that, but it seems like things are starting to catch up with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have barely squeaked by all year in multiple games, lost some pretty big games that, they should have had in the bag, and you just ask yourself, is this, Patrick Mahomes is a miracle worker on the field, but is the lack of receiving weapons starting to catch up to him? Is this defense starting to get gassed? Are teams starting to figure out this defense a little bit better? Because, Tristan, it it looked like Jordan Love was an MVP caliber quarterback to some degree. He didn't make a mistake. They couldn't get pressure on him. I think he was only sacked like maybe 2 or 3 times, which for Green Bay, not bad, especially when you have...
Mahomes was sacked like 3 times. They got after Mahomes.
It was pretty even. One had 2, one had 3 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. But this Chiefs defensive line, up until this point, was phenomenal. And they started to slack off the last couple of weeks, really starting with that Denver loss. And it's just been a little bit different team week to week now. And you look at Green Bay, and it seems like things are starting to come together a little bit for them. It looks like Jordan Love is starting to find a little bit of a groove. And you got to ask yourself, going into week 13 that just passed, like, did you think that Green Bay was going to completely dominate the game? I know the score didn't look like they did, but it felt like they did the entire game.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where the score looks, way closer than it actually was, in my opinion.
Right.
Obviously, the turnover from the Chiefs was the dagger. I think that really flipped the game script, because up until that point, the Chiefs were keeping it within like 2 to 4 points.
You can never count Mahomes out. Anytime he's on the field, they've got a shot to win. And I still thought the Chiefs would win the game, because that's what Mahomes does, until, as you said, the interception. And it was a bad interception. I don't know if it was all Mahomes, if it was Sky Moore. Why Sky Moore is still being involved at all blows my mind. And why they still limit Rashee Rice, it blows my mind. Yeah, Edwards-Helaire. There's a lot of things that the Chiefs have done this year that confuse me. But you're right. They were physically dominated the whole game. It was
the entire game.
Embarrassing. It was one of the worst losses since I've been following the Chiefs. 10 plus years. So
right. So, you take all this into account, right? And you look at the Chiefs and you question their playoff contention. And then you look at Green Bay and you got to ask, are they going to wind up earning themselves a playoff spot? Because you look at their division and you see that the Lions are slipping up a little bit. The Bears aren't going to make it, obviously. And the Vikings, Dobbs had a good 3 weeks of a run, and
now they're nosediving.
They're nosediving. So you got to ask, is Green Bay creeping up that division? Statistically, yes, but also, are they going to battle with the Lions at all, or are the Lions still going to walk away with it, and the Packers maybe land a wild card?
No way the Packers can catch them for the division. I don't think. I think that would be crazy, because they're 6-6. The Lions are 9-3, so they're 3 games back. There's only 5 games left.
Yeah, but we've talked about all year that the strength of schedule for the Packers, I think, is pretty weak toward the end of the year, right?
I've got it right here. Let me look. Let's see who they got next.
I know. So just looking at Detroit, they got the Bears, the Broncos, the Vikings, the Cowboys, and the Vikings again.
Yeah, it's easy for Green Bay too. They've got the Giants, the Bucks, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Bears. Those are all winnable if they beat the Chiefs. And that's the thing. It's not just that the Chiefs had a bad night. They did, but they had a bad night because of what Green Bay did. Green Bay executed a flawless game plan. And this is how they've looked. Really, we wondered, was that beatdown of Detroit Green Bay had on Thanksgiving? Was it kind of, a one-off? Maybe Detroit was sleepwalking through the game, thought they would catch them off guard or something. No, it looks like the Packers have figured something out. And they actually said in the broadcast, I don't know if you caught it, but Matt LaFleur said the words, "We took the training wheels off of Jordan Love," because we followed Jordan Love's season closely. It started really good, right? First 3 weeks, he looked good, and then it kind of hit a nosedive, and it looked like, oh, maybe they're going to have to find a quarterback. Well, these last 3 to 4 weeks, it's picked back up, and he looks like a franchise guy, because Matt LaFleur said they took the training wheels off. They stopped trying to protect him and treat him like a rookie quarterback, and instead they said, hey, we'll just go run the Matt LaFleur offense. We're just going to turn it over to you. Let's see what you got. Turns out he's really good at it.
Well, they spoke about that on the broadcast, too. They said that Aaron Rodgers had his way of doing it. Brett Favre had his way. What you're seeing now is Matt LaFleur's way of running an offense.
It's like not Matt LaFleur unleashed.
That's exactly what it is. It's Jordan Love putting on the helmet, going out there and playing LaFleur's game. And LaFleur's doing a fantastic job at developing these players. When you look at the
one
Packers,
of the youngest teams in the league, too.
And their receiving core, Tristan, the other night when they played the Chiefs, looked way better than the Chiefs did. Oh, Christian Watson, obviously he got injured. I hope him the best, but he's probably done for the season.
Yeah.
Romeo Dobbs is phenomenal.
Jaden Reed.
The running game was going great. A.J. Dillon's really kind of taken over that backfield.
Yes, even without Aaron Jones, they were able to. That's what surprised
Aaron Jones,
me more than anything.
He's washed.
Easy.
look, I'm just saying, I had him on fantasy. I traded him
He's
away.
injured.
And that's fine. He's always injured.
Right. Fair. That's fair.
Oh, Aaron Jones is a great running back. When he's not going to doctor's appointments?
Right. As I say, your best ability is your availability. But
the last time I checked, you can't run the ball in a leg cast.
No, you can try, but you're not going to make it very far. You might get a yard or two.
You may could go to the nursing home and get a few yards, but that's about it.
If you're playing shuffleboard, you might ink out a one or two.
Is that all the Aaron Jones jokes we're going to push out right now?
That's it. I'm going to stop right there. Wrap it back around real quick. Right now, the Packers are the 7th seed. That's right now. If it ended today, they are the 7th seed. Behind them, you've got the Rams at 6-6, the Seahawks at 6-6. I mean, I don't think either of those teams are getting in. And above them, you've got the Vikings, who are probably going to fall out. I don't see any way the Packers don't make the playoffs if they continue to play like this. I'm not saying something can't change. If Christian Watson is out, that is a big deal. He is their best receiver. But with that offense, with them, when they're able to run the football and make plays out of the play action as they were against the Chiefs, they're going to be successful. We've now seen them back-to-back weeks beat Detroit and Kansas City. I don't know how you can't be impressed with them. They are playing like a playoff team right now, 100%.
All I'm saying is their strength of schedule for the remaining weeks, they could easily beat the Giants.
Yep.
The Bucs may give them a little bit of trouble, but then you get the Panthers. That's probably a win. The Vikings, they could win that, and I think the Bears may give them a little bit of trouble if Fields is back because he's a mobile quarterback, and they always give teams problems. But if they could manage to win 4 of these next 5 games, watch out, Lions. It could be difficult for you to maintain that top spot.
All right, let's turn to the second biggest game of the weekend. I thought the Chiefs-Packers one would be one we would barely touch on. I was wrong. This one we knew we would talk about, but we probably thought we'd be talking about it a little differently. The San Francisco 49ers went to Philadelphia, pulled down the Eagles' pants, and spanked them in front of their mama, in front of the Lord, and everyone else on national television. 42-19. The 49ers dismantled what we all thought what looked like the best team in the National Football League. Simple question for this topic. Does this put the Niners firmly atop the NFL as the team to beat for you?
If they weren't going into this game, they surely are now. The Niners look unstoppable at this point because you look at, and you and I have talked about this several times, Brock Purdy is not anybody's savior by any means. He is, in a Shanahan offense, a top 10 quarterback. Outside of that, you put him at the Giants, you put him at the Panthers, he's 15, fringe 15 maybe. He's not the guy that is responsible for all of, he's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
he's not the reason they're successful.
You put Bryce Young into the 49ers offense right now, and Bryce Young would look like that number 1 draft spot. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if I agree with that, but obviously I agree with the point about Brock Purdy. This is where I kind of might differ from some people, though. Obviously, you say right now there would be the best team in the league. I agree. The results on the field have to matter. Here's the thing with the 49ers, though, and this is how I felt about them really the entire time Shanahan's been there, but particularly with Brock Purdy. When they're able to play their style of ball game, no one can beat them. When they're able to get a lead and control the ball game, when they're able to run with McCaffrey, build things off of that, when you've got everyone healthy, they're very, very successful, and almost no one can beat them. But when they get down, 10, 14 points, and they have to start playing comeback, they fall apart, and they look like, a fringe playoff team, not a Super Bowl contender. So they were able to do that against the Eagles. They got down 6-0, but those 2 big red zone stops where they held the Eagles to field goals their first 2 possessions, that kept them in the game. They were able to play their offense because they were only down 6 points, and they got a lead and were able to keep it. Credit to the 49ers defense. It's just like this little asterisk, this little caveat I have to have about the 49ers. Yes, they look like the best team in football, but I know they're not a team that can win multiple ways. Like the Chiefs in past years, they're a team that have been able to win whatever you throw at them. The Eagles this year, up until this game, obviously, they've been able to win multiple different kinds of ball games. I think the 49ers can kind of win one way, And if it goes that way, they can beat anybody on any day. But if it starts to go awry, I think the house of cards falls relatively quickly. Does that make sense?
It does. When Purdy's put in that position where the game's on his shoulders, it's a completely different 49ers team. And I think it may be getting a little bit better because Ayuk's starting to develop a little bit more. They're bringing back Debo from his injury and working him in the game plan more and more every week.
He was fantastic in this game. I mean, he was unstoppable.
Yeah, he was. And that's, Debo can play like that when given the opportunity. But to come into the Eagles' home field and defeat them and embarrass them is, especially when we thought the Eagles were so good, because I mean they were 10-1, right? 10-1 going into this week. So I think what this game boiled down to me is the 49ers' ability to score on almost every drive they had. The Eagles, they were only converting 53% of their third downs.
They couldn't do anything.
49ers had 73%. The biggest story of the game to me is the run game could not develop for the Eagles. And I think here it is, 146 yards on the ground for the 49ers, 46 for the Eagles.
And we've seen the past couple weeks, the rushing game is really what's broken the games open for the Eagles, both against the Bills and the Chiefs. It was the rushing game that kind of got them back in it.
When Swift can eat, then they do very well.
Right.
And this, Jalen Hurts looked discombobulated. The running game wasn't developing. The defense, they weren't playing good. And the 49ers were hitting on all cylinders. So I'm glad that the 49ers really cemented themselves into that number one spot in all of the NFL. Because if you ask me a team to go up toe-to-toe with them, I don't know who would square off the best.
I don't think anyone can when they're healthy.
Yeah, I don't. If the script goes the 49ers' way,
right,
there's not a team that can stop them.
But
they're talented. So many places they're talented.
But can the script go their way through the rest of the season? We've got 5 weeks left. I don't know. That's what worries me. I'm worried about the first time in a playoff game where they get down 14 points and they have to say, Purdy, please go bring us back in the football game. Maybe that won't happen. We've seen playoff runs where a team just cruises right to the championship, and that 100% could happen with the 49ers. They could win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. But I just still have that nagging feeling. What happens, though? What happens if they get down and they have to crawl back into it? Now, they've put themselves in a good position at 9-3. They're only one game behind the Eagles. They're still in an opportunity to get the 1 seed. The battle for that's going to be really enticing to watch. But I just think that everything has to go right for the 49ers. And even just for Shanahan, we've seen this in the past with Shanahan, even back when he was an offensive coordinator with Atlanta. When everything is going according to plan, nobody in the country can touch him. But when things start to break down and you have to kind of play off the cuff, it doesn't look as pretty. And you just can't tell me that in the playoffs, everything's going to go according to plan. It's the NFL. Things are going to shake up unexpectedly.
Yeah, they really are. And you look at the rest of the 49ers schedule, they got the Seahawks next week and then the Cardinals right after that. Their next big matchup, in my opinion, is going to be Week 16 when they play the Ravens at home. That's going to be a really fun game to watch.
I think that'll tell us a lot about the Ravens because I'm still a little skeptical on the Ravens, but hell, the way the Chiefs looked this week, it's like, who's the team in the AFC? It's Kansas City or Baltimore. Obviously, you can't count Kansas City out because Patrick Mahomes can win any game he's playing, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. And the Chiefs, similar to what I said about the 49ers, they need the game to go a certain way. It's not the Chiefs of old where they can win any game. They have to play a low-scoring defensive football game, just like the Niners need to be able to run the ball, play action, play with a lead. The Eagles are the team that I think can win multiple ways, and to counter that, I think Baltimore is a team that can win multiple ways. So I can't wait to see that Baltimore-San Francisco matchup Week 15. That's going to be a ton of fun. I think we're going to learn a lot about both teams as the season winds down here.
After Week 16, you got Commanders and Rams to round out the rest of the season. Should be 2 easy wins for the 49ers after Week 16 against the Ravens. We'll see how that shakes out and see if the 49ers can maintain that top position in the NFL and in the NFC.
Okay, Ryan, let's talk about some Week 14 matchups that I'm excited to discuss. The one that I think everyone's going to have circled is the Eagles heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, which is one of the best games of the season was when the two faced off a couple weeks ago. Now we have them facing off in a do-or-die matchup. The Cowboys right now sit at the 5 seed, 9-3. The Eagles sit at the 1 seed, 10-2. What that means is if the Cowboys win this game, then both teams go to 10-3. I believe the Cowboys would have the tiebreaker, but I'm not certain because that stuff confuses me. They would have split the games. This looked like throughout most of the season, the Eagles were cruising. They were driving down the highway, window down, hair, luscious ponytail blowing in the wind. Jalen Hurts feeling like a man, feeling confident that 1 seed was theirs. All of a sudden, one 49ers loss, and the next week, Dallas has you in their sights. Philadelphia had the 1 seed locked up. Now, all of a sudden, Dallas is within striking distance of winning the division and knocking Philly into a wild card spot, which is what you predicted this preseason. You said, even though you predicted the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, you said Dallas would win the division and the Eagles would get them in the playoffs. Are you sticking by that? Do you think Dallas is going to win this game this weekend?
I do. And here, I'll tell you why. Not only because I want my prediction to come true and why give up on it now when it seems like it's this close.
Right.
But also, this is maybe a hot take it's my opinion, so it really can't be a hot take, right? It's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. I think Dallas is the second best team in the NFL right now.
Ooh.
Over the last 4 weeks, how Dak Prescott has played has been lightning in a bottle.
He's phenomenal.
Man. Him and CeeDee Lamb are connecting on a different level than they have been since CeeDee Lamb's come into the NFL. Pollard is starting to find his groove a little bit more.
Finally,
they're actually what they're doing is they're being consistent with him now, right?
Yes.
When you have an offense like this so high powered, it's really hard to stop, especially when you look at how the Eagles played defense last week against the 49ers. 49ers in Dallas on offense, when they're running and they're firing on all cylinders, both of those teams are unstoppable offensively because, they just are. They have so much talent in wide receiver and running back. It's unreal, man. I think 49ers obviously have a little bit more talent as far as positional players.
Cowboys have a better quarterback. Yeah.
Cowboys have a better quarterback. There you go. So it kind of balances out, right? Like you can have a little bit less of wide receiver depth or talent when you have a great quarterback.
You concerned at all that the Dallas defense gave up so many points to Seattle, though?
So that was going to be my next talking point. I believe Seattle played its best game of football that it has all season against Dallas.
It was kind of a must-win for them. They really needed it.
They had to play like that. So I'm willing to say that I think Dallas's defense is still the best in the league.
Well, they're not. That's crazy.
Well, at least in their division for sure. But I think against the Eagles are going to have a chip on their shoulder, but I still think Dallas takes this one. And they're playing at Dallas, correct?
Yeah, in Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a nightmare for the Eagles, man. I think the Eagles are kind of just on a little bit of a downward trend right now. They're gonna pop back up by the end of the season, but I think right now it's Dallas's best football that they're playing, and they're going to play that against the Eagles and walk home with a W.
Right, and after this, Philly has to go to Seattle. So this stretch of games for Philly, we said was going to be tough. It was at Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas, at Seattle. Then you get the Giants twice and the Cardinals. So they're almost through that rough stretch, but we know the season is long. It is a grind. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. That's why teams ebb and flow. Remember a couple years ago when the Steelers started like 10-2? But it was the way the schedule shook out. We all knew the Steelers aren't going to finish as the 1 seed. Now,
it dissipated toward the end of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, the Eagles are very talented. They very well could be the 1 seed. They are one of the best teams in the league.
It's up for grabs.
It's really starting to feel like the Super Bowl champion is coming from the NFC this year, doesn't it? It
Which
really
is crazy.
It is, but it just doesn't feel like the AFC teams. As I said, AFC, you're looking at Ravens and Chiefs is really it. Could the Jaguars or the Texans or somebody get in there and shock things up? Obviously they could, but it's a story for another day. I think I agree with you. I think I'm leaning Dallas in this game. I don't really want to pick the Eagles to drop 2 in a row, but it just feels like they've kind of hit a wall. They're tired. They're starting to get worn down. Jalen Hurts got injured in that game. it feels like, the collective football season is starting to catch up with them, and maybe they'll course correct next week in Seattle, because while they're kind of trending down after that loss, even before that, a really tough game against the Chiefs, really tough game against Buffalo where they needed a miracle kick to send it to overtime, and then, a beat down by San Francisco. Dallas, on the other hand, has just looked better and better and better and better. And even though they gave up so much points in that Seattle game, I was impressed by them because Dak was able to win a big primetime game, and that's been the knock on Dak.
It's been his Achilles heel.
Right. He looks great in the regular season. He plays great, but in big games, he kind of falls apart. That hasn't been the case lately. And since that 49ers loss, which was typical Dak, he's looked fantastic. He has a strong argument to be MVP right now. And we all have to just accept that Dallas is a good football team, Dak is a good quarterback, and Mike McCarthy is a good football coach. How deep will that take them in the playoffs remains to be seen. But I think Dallas is on a mission. I think they should have won the Eagles matchup earlier this season. They've got a chip on their shoulder just like the 49ers did. I'm with you. Give me Dallas. I think they make a statement this weekend in front of their fans.
Let's go ahead and talk about AFC. The matchup of all matchups, the Bills at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming off of a very disappointing loss. The Bills are coming off of a bye week. This game tends to be one of those games that everybody looks forward to every year because we know that it could be easily one of the best games of the year.
Yeah.
Take the playoff potential matchup, the 13-second game. These two teams, our two teams, ironically, we didn't choose these on purpose. It just happened this way. They are high-powered, high offense games typically. Will it play out that way this year?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I mean, how they played, honestly, it's a coin toss. The Bills could have one of the traditional Bills games that they've been having all year and suck, and the Chiefs just have their number, or Josh Allen could come out and play the best game of his life and run all over the Chiefs.
So I think Buffalo's been playing better recently. Even though
since the coordinator switch,
right? Since they kicked Dorsey out of town and brought Joe Brady in, it's looked a lot better. So, and coming off a bye, they're definitely going to have the advantage. However, I think the worst thing that could have happened to Buffalo was the Chiefs losing to the Packers, because I think Mahomes is going to come out there with a fire. I think he's going to be determined. I think you're going to see Mahomes play one of his best games of the season. The question is, will the defense hold up their end of the bargain, and will the wide receivers hold up their end of the bargain? Real quick, before I go to you, I just want to make a point. I meant to say this when we talked about the Chiefs earlier. I want to say it now. Brett Veach, I think, is the second best GM in the league behind Howie Roseman, okay? But he made a severe miscalculation this offseason by not adding any more wide receiver talent. He assumed they would be okay. And I don't blame him for making that assumption. They drafted Rashee Rice, who's been one of the best rookies out of the draft. That was a great decision. But I think they thought with Rashee Rice, MVS, Travis Kelce, and, plug and play Sky Moore or whatever, that they would be okay. Kadarius Toney. That has not been the case. Kadarius Toney has sucked. Sky Moore has sucked. MVS has sucked. Rashee Rice is literally the only receiver he can remotely count on. And Travis Kelce, let's be honest, he's starting to look his age a little bit. This is not the Travis Kelce of last year. It's not. And I don't know if anyone else is ready to say it. I don't know if we're ready to acknowledge it. He is still good. He is not the X factor he has been. It has caught up with him. That
making
is
a lot
the
of
difference.
mistakes too.
Right. That is the difference. They thought if we have another year with Travis Kelce, we'll be fine. Brett Veach was right. The problem is this has been the first year of the Travis Kelce regression. So I think that hit them and they didn't expect it. And it's kind of caught the Chiefs with their pants down. The Buffalo defense has been up and down. I think the Chiefs will be able to move the ball on them, but I think Josh Allen's going to be able to move the ball in this Chiefs defense because I don't think they looked good against Green Bay. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but right now I'm leaning Buffalo.
I mean, I'm going to pick Buffalo too because, well, how the Chiefs played and how they've been playing. And you mentioned that Patrick Mahomes, you think he'll play his best game. That's fine. If Patrick Mahomes plays his best game, he can do that, and it's still up to the receivers to catch those balls.
Right, he still needs
still
help.
It's still up to the receivers not to miss wide open passes, or drop passes,
because it's really been him and
fumble
Pacheco
at the 2-yard line. Yeah, that's it. And Rice every now and then.
And Rice, yep.
I think they need to utilize Rice more as a number one.
Agreed.
And they aren't doing that. They're still doing that spread out mentality where they're giving everybody, some soup at the soup kitchen.
They need to start treating Rashee Rice how they've treated Travis Kelce the past couple of years. Every play needs to be designing the football to Rashee Rice.
Would you agree that this offense for Kansas City runs its best with a reliable tight end? Like, and what I mean is, like, when Kelce has been injured or hasn't played, which has been very rare, this team plays differently, right? You think Mahomes needs a tight end to be successful?
I don't think he needs a tight end to be successful. I think that they've just built the team around that formula. When you have arguably the greatest tight end in the history of the National Football League, obviously your offense is going to run through your tight end. And that goes back to my point earlier. I really think that is... When everyone asks, what's wrong with the Chiefs this year? What's wrong with the Chiefs this year? Firstly, they are not struggling to move the ball. They're moving the ball just as much as they did last year. Their problem is red zone offense. How long have I been saying that? 2 months now? And we saw it against the Green Bay in the Green Bay game. The difference this season is they're getting field goals in the red zone where they used to get touchdowns. That turns into losses. Everything would have been fine if Travis Kelce looked like Travis Kelce from 2021, 2022. He doesn't. He's still very good, but it's clear to anyone that's watching that he has lost a step. It's what happens. The age is getting there, and it was a miscalculation. They didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. This is what happens with players. It just, it happens. I think Travis Kelce might still play another year or two, but he is not the Travis Kelce that he has been.
Well, and he's added a girlfriend, Taylor Swift, who may be taking up a lot of his time. Just
I don't
saying.
think that has anything to do with it. But
so, and I ask you this about the tight end, and I know it's a little off topic between the Bills and the Chiefs matchup, but I think it still follows in line with like how the Chiefs operate.
Hey, our show.
Obviously, the Chiefs operate well. Patrick Mahomes operates well with the tight end, a talented tight end. Would you, as Veach, go into the draft and do everything in your power, knowing what you know about Kelce, how he's probably declining a little bit, showing his age? Would you try to go get Brock Bowers? Would you try anything in your power to try to go get Brock Bowers? Do you think it's that important to get that type of positional guy for Mahomes?
I think wide receiver is bigger of a concern. I mean, if you could get Bowers, that'd be fantastic, but you'd have to really move. I mean, Bowers is probably going top 10, right? So
you would think.
Maybe some of the injuries with Brock Bowers knocks him down a little. I find it hard to believe, though. I think the Chiefs need... I do think the Chiefs need to do something like that. I think they need to make a big swing.
Like a Texans move? Like where they traded up and got a back-to-back pick or something, you know?
I think they need to make a big swing to go up into the top 10. You're not going to be able to get like Marvin Harrison Jr. or anything like that. But I do think they need to try to make a swing, go get a guy early. Like they need to move into the top 15, draft a wide receiver. And I also think they probably need to trade for one. And look, Brett Veach is smart. He knows this. They bet that they would be fine this year with the wide receiver core, and that bet was wrong, okay? But Brett Veach also drafted all these, great rookies, second-year players who have turned this defense into one of the best in the league. He also drafted Rashee Rice way earlier than people said. People are like, why is he drafting this guy? Rashee Rice has been one of the best rookies in the league. I think if they draft a wide receiver next year, a good one, which they will, and go make a trade for maybe a veteran guy, I don't care who it is, anyone. Get somebody. We don't have any receivers. So, yes.
Starting to miss Hill a little bit, huh?
I mean, I think that's irrelevant, though, because you got rid of Hill and you won the Super Bowl. Now everybody's like, oh, missing the Hill trade. It's like, yeah, we won the fucking Super Bowl. So I think it worked out all right. Travis Kelce's regressed. That's just
I think both can be true. So you can miss Hill and still be grateful you won the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, Mahomes misses Hill, but he also misses any receiver that can catch a ball.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's kind of the situation they're in. But I promise it will be addressed this offseason. Bills Chiefs, you think the Bills won this football game?
Yeah, give me the Bills by like 3, I think.
I hate to say it, but I think I'm right there with you. I think the Bills have the Chiefs number this time. I think the Chiefs are going to struggle and going to probably be like a 4 seed this year.
What time is this game?
I think it's afternoon, like 3:30. So.
Well, you and I will be definitely tuned into that, watching it. Not side by side, I guess, but we'll be watching over text.
Yeah, all right. I'll probably put a bag over my head for this one, but either way, I'll hear it. It's time to play a head coaching availability bracket. We're going to take some of the head coaching jobs that we believe might come available this offseason, and we're going to put them head to head to see what we think is the best coaching vacancy that might become available. Here are the teams we have facing off. Firstly, we have the Buffalo Bills, your team, Ryan. They are going to be our 1 seed. They're getting the bye, okay? They played well. They get home field advantage. So they're getting the bye. We want to address them. The matchups, Patriots versus Commanders, Chargers versus Panthers, and Raiders versus the Bears. Let's start at the top. The New England Patriots versus the Washington Commanders. I think it's a foregone conclusion that both of these jobs will be open. New owner in Washington, they're going to want a clean slate. The Patriots, what else do we have to say about that dumpster fire? Between these two organizations, what is the better head coaching job?
Let's remind everybody that some of these we kind of know for sure that the head coaching, the vacancy is going to open up. But some of these were also just kind of implying that they would. Right now, with Sam Howell playing the good football that he's playing, and you got Brian Robinson, you got so much talent on that team. I think this is one of the situations where the talent outweighs even the division. So give me the Commanders here. I'm going to take them winning against the Patriots.
The one thing that would make me lean New England here is the owner.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac Jones, obviously. No, Robert Kraft is an excellent owner. He's one of the best, and he's getting older, but Jonathan Kraft is just as good. He's in line. He's been there the whole time. I love that, and I know if I'm a coach, if I took that Patriots job, I would have the Kraft's loyalty. I would be able to lean on them. I know I would have a stable organization, a stable fan base. Whereas the Commanders, it's a new owner. It's a disgusting field and stadium. It's in Washington. We don't really have any fans. We might change the fucking name again. Who knows? So stability-wise, I actually think the Patriots are the better job here. But at the end of the day, I've got to go with what you said, and it's the roster. There isn't anyone on that New England Patriots roster that excites you other than Christian Gonzalez, the rookie corner who got hurt this year. When they were showing the matchup for the Patriots the Thursday night, they used Bill Belichick in the promo because they don't have any players. That's embarrassing. I agree with you. I think with the Commanders, Sam Howell is looking like he can be your guy, at least for a little bit, right? You might want a quarterback at some point, but you can win games with Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy. Maybe Eric Bieniemy gets the job. But I agree with you. I think the Commanders roster gives them the edge in this game. So let's have the Commanders move on and defeat the Patriots as the better job. Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Carolina Panthers. Right now, the Panthers have an interim coach. I doubt they'll keep them because David Tepper is impatient and a ruthless owner. The Chargers, we know Brandon Staley's gone. You're wasting Justin Herbert's career. Here's the situation. This seems like an easy one. If this was a wild card game, nobody would watch it. You've got Justin Herbert with the Chargers. That's obviously the way to go. But the problem, even taking Justin Herbert out of it, Ryan, is the ownership. The Panthers owner, David Tepper, he is just so ridiculous. He's impatient. He pulls the plug too soon. They've got some good roster pieces, but I don't know about Bryce Young. I don't like his size. There's no way, if you're a coach with his options, you're going to take that over Justin Herbert. Now, the Chargers franchise seems to be cursed. Their ownership is very cheap. I don't love the situation for the Los Angeles Chargers, but at the end of the day, there's no way I could turn down Justin Herbert's talent and what that possibility at quarterback could mean. So I think the Chargers win this round easily.
I wouldn't want to touch the Panthers with a 20-foot pole.
No.
Because like you mentioned, the GM is just, he's such a knee-jerk
guy.
Owner,
yeah.
The owner, I'm sorry. The owner is just a knee-jerk guy. And he
knee-jerk ninja.
He'll fire somebody at the drop of a hat, right? I actually heard that Chris Tabor tied his shoes wrong and is potentially getting fired. So just watch out for that. So, but yeah, and then also, we've both said it. You would imagine what the Chargers look like without Staley and just how far they could go, because it is the roster is just it's loaded with talent.
Right. Yeah.
Loaded with talent. The defense needs some work, but you're, like you said, you're wasting Herbert's career, right? Like, of course, I would love to be the coach that comes in there. That's why I was hoping that Sean Payton would go to the Chargers, because what he's done with the Broncos, midway through this season, he's starting at how good the Chargers are right now.
He wanted that job, but this goes to the owner problems. They wouldn't cut the check because they're cheap. They're absolutely cheap. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to get a good head coach that can take Herbert to the promised land, but under this scenario, we are the coach, this entity, and we're picking the best job. I don't know what Justin Herbert is. Maybe he's not a top 5 quarterback. He certainly has to take some of the blame. We can't put it all on Staley. He has not been what I think we've all wanted him to be, but without a doubt, he's better than Bryce Young. And if you go get that quarterback, that arm, you're going to have a say in the AFC, even though the division is competitive. So we agree there. The Chargers move on. Lastly, the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Chicago Bears. Raiders right now, interim coach Antonio Pierce. Hopefully Mark Davis doesn't make the mistake he made before, where Rick Bisaccia was the interim coach. He did incredible, took him to the playoffs, almost won a playoff game, and he didn't get the job. I think if the Raiders had any sense, they would make Antonio Pierce their full-time head coach. But let's operate off the assumption that they are not. It's going to be an opening between them and the Bears. Where do you lean?
Yeah, they'll probably interview for that position, but I still think I really like, side note here, how Antonio Pierce is coaching this team and what he's doing with the Raiders right now. And I just like him as a head coach.
He's earned the job, in my opinion.
He really has. But as far as what team I would take to be a head coach at right now, I like operating with a really good mobile quarterback. And Justin Fields has proven, I think this year, when he's been healthy, he had that thumb injury. That happens to quarterbacks. So it's not that he was necessarily injury prone. Those thumb injuries just happen.
Right.
He's playing really good football right now. He's running really good. Him and DJ Moore are connecting a lot better downfield now. And this team seems to be operating a lot better under, poor leadership even. And so I think coming in as a head coach, taking this team where nobody's expecting too much out of you and being able to flip that organization on its head and potentially make a playoff run, it's not out of the question. I mean, you do have, it looks like that Chicago has accepted Justin Fields as their guy now, talking about the fan base. And so I think that, the fans, if you get a good head coach in there, the Bears fans are unlike any others, man. They will hang you to a cross, or they'll carry you all down the street when you had a flat tire.
The good thing is it's not like the Bears expect any type of success because they haven't had any in 60 years. So, granted, neither have the Raiders. I agree. I think I would lean the Bears here, but
you also got a really pretty stadium in Las Vegas.
Maybe, yeah, the stadium is fantastic. I'm leaning the Bears, but for a slightly different reason than you. Not because of Justin Fields, because I can send him packing. Because that's the first thing I would do if I took over as GM.
Oh my,
Justin
you're insane.
Fields, pack the bags, get the fuck out. We'll get somebody else. We got so many picks. You are insane.
All these Bear fans are about to light up the comment section. Please tell Tristan how wrong he is.
He sucks. He's terrible.
He doesn't.
That primetime game last week,
I can show you the stats.
Awful. Well, I can look at the stats too. What was that game they played?
Well, obviously you need some glasses.
Did you watch the Chicago-Minnesota game 2 weeks ago? Because I tried, and I wanted glass. I wanted glass to shove into my eyeballs because it was so bad. He tried to lose that game 6 ways from Sunday. You have so many picks here. You're going to have the number 1 overall pick because you've got Carolina. You've got another high pick. You can go get Caleb Williams and probably Marvin Harrison Jr. You can start over, and you can also ship Justin Fields off to somebody and get capital for him. Here's the problem. Even if you think Justin Fields is a good quarterback, which I don't, can he be a quarterback for a franchise? Sure. But it's soured in Chicago. It's over. It's done. He can't throw the ball. He can go learn to do that somewhere else. I can get capital for him and start fresh because the rookie contract period is over, Ryan. And we know in the NFL, you have to capitalize when you're not paying the quarterback. You're telling me if I stick with Justin Fields, I'm going to have to give him a second contract, at least a 1 or 2 year deal. And then if it doesn't work out, I've wasted my opportunity with this really talented quarterback class where I could go get Williams or Drake May. No way. Fields is gone. I'm starting fresh with one of those rookies and with a good wide receiver. Different reasons, but we agree the Bears is the better job here. The Buffalo Bills versus the Chicago Bears. I don't think it's going to be much of a competition here. There's no way you would pass up on Josh Allen. Is there anything else that needs to be said about this one?
I just think Justin Fields is so much better of a quarterback than Josh Allen.
Seems that way.
God, no. I mean, I I would die to be the Bills head coach right now. I mean, I would suck so bad.
Oh, yeah. You'd be gone in 3 weeks.
They called me. Look, I would do it for the cheapest anybody's ever done a head coaching job. I'd do it for $1 million. I'm your guy.
Line me up. All right, so we'll just move on from this one. Obviously, the Bills would be it. Commanders, Chargers. I think we also agree with this one. It's easy. Chargers because of the quarterback. So let's go straight to the finale. Bills versus Chargers. If you had your pick, is it that simple? Is it Buffalo and Josh Allen?
You know, I told you before the show started, because now when you get down to this Super Bowl matchup between the Bills and the Chargers head coach, you got to look at many other things besides just talent now. Up until this point, talent could get you by, and you could say, hey, I would rather be the head coach here because the talent just way outweighs the roster or the division and, you know, your competition, things like that. Well, now it's a little bit different. So let's just take a small little break and let's just look into what type of division you would be in
so
for both of these teams.
So we got the AFC East versus the AFC West.
So you got the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and the New England Patriots.
Okay.
And then for the Chargers, you got the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. And so you look at both of these divisions and you got a couple of hard hitters, but you got to think about the future, right? So you can't just think about the now. You got to think about where these teams going to be in the future. So let's take the AFC East, for instance. You got Buffalo. Obviously, it's probably the second best team in the division right now because Miami looks like it's a lot better than Buffalo right now.
Mike McDaniel isn't going anywhere, right?
And so you got to think, do you want to coach up against Mike McDaniel for the next 5 years?
But the Patriots are a disaster. So
the Patriots are a disaster, and then the Jets maybe have Aaron Rodgers for next year, but after that, they're
back to the Jets, yeah.
Yeah, but they still got a really good defense. That defense isn't going anywhere. It's young, and it's good. You got Gardner, you got Quentin Williams. Let's move over to AFC West. You got Sean Payton with Russell Wilson. Well,
looking good.
That duo, it looks great now, but they're both older guys, too. So they're going to be out the door probably within the next 3 to 5 years.
Russell Wilson probably be gone in a year or two. Yeah, Sean Payton's there to stay.
Yeah, but for how long? We just don't know how long he's going to coach. He's already retired once. Who knows? And then, obviously, you got the stud in the room, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're obviously going to be in competition as long as Patrick Mahomes plays football. And he's going to forever be a
brother to the Kansas City Chiefs in that division.
100%. But you may catch the Chiefs right now at a semi-rebuild.
Right. They are entering phase 2 of the Mahomes era. So
yes. So this is the, if you think about back to Brady,
it's that 10-year period where he didn't win a Super Bowl is what it is.
Right.
I mean, now I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to do that, but you have that first phase of the dynasty where you've got all these studs and you make your run. And then you got to pay the quarterback. All your great players like Travis Kelce age out and you have to rebuild them and bring them in with cheaper, younger options. And you have to try to win a different way. That is the era the Chiefs in. So if you're going to get them, now's the time. So this matchup is not as cut and dry as you would think.
No. So, while you may be the Chiefs' little brother, I think you can still be the top dog in that division in the next 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm thinking as far as a head coach goes. I'm thinking the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think any sooner than that, and I don't want to think anything past that because I think if you're a head coach and you don't come into an organization like the Bills or the Chargers and get a Super Bowl, at least make a run at the Super Bowl in the first 3 to 5 years, you're out of there.
Yeah, you've got to be a playoff contender. So, can I cut you off for 1 second?
You can.
I want to just go to the Bills, and while the quarterback obviously is the X factor, it's the big shining knight in the room that's drawing you there. It's like, I'm like Cillian Murphy and Oppenheimer looking through the glass. Oh, look, it's Josh Allen. Okay, but think about the roster. That roster needs a big overhaul. You've got a ton of old guys on big contracts, and offensively, you've got Diggs, who is kind of a diva. He is a diva. It seems like he might be wanting his way out. If you go into Buffalo, you're probably going to have to move on from Diggs. So while you do have Josh Allen, you're going to have to rebuild the entire offensive weaponry. You're going to have to rebuild the secondary. That roster in Buffalo is entering a full rebuild minus the quarterback. So I think that's something you have to take into account here as well, because the Chargers probably have some better, younger pieces compared to the Bills.
Yeah, you make a good point there. But the Bills also, they have money they can spend.
Right.
And so that helps, right?
And we know they want to win Super Bowls. They're going to put their money where their mouth is.
Now, we also didn't mention the Raiders in the AFC West, and you got to think about if Antonio Pierce maintains that position, like how good is he going to have this Raiders team?
Fair, yeah.
I don't think he'll ever have it to Super Bowl level, personally. I just don't know that. I don't know that much about Antonio Pierce. I don't know if he's like Mike McDaniel in his first year. I'm like, okay, dude's going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, we know Mike McDaniel's a fantastic head coach.
Sure.
There's no doubting it. And he brings a whole new rejuvenated style of offense into this NFL right now. I still believe that I would take the Buffalo Bills job because I'm less afraid of Mike McDaniel right now than I am Andy Reid. And I think those are the two teams you really got to watch out for. Is Miami in the East, and then the Chiefs in the West. Now, you can argue that the Chiefs are in that lull period where they have to rebuild.
Still Patrick Mahomes.
Still Andy Reid. And it's just that thorn in your side that's always going to piss you off.
Yeah, and
because
it's the
you
ownership.
Just never.
It's the ownership. You know they're going to be well run. You know Brett Veach is one of the best GMs. The Kansas City Chiefs, even before Mahomes, they were a well run organization.
I'll throw this out there. Okay, this is a valid point. Even with McDermott as the head coach, the Bills have owned Miami for years.
Josh Allen is their daddy.
I like that. I like those odds. So, yeah, I'm still taking the Bills. Again, this is a non-biased reaction. Not just because I'm a Bills fan, but I really think that you have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 5 years with the Bills, with a new head coach and revamping the defense and adding some more pieces for Josh Allen to throw to, rather than taking over the Chargers right now and still going up against Kansas City and the potential run from Sean Payton with the Broncos that I think, the Broncos could wind up in the Super Bowl. Tristan, they could wind up there this year. It'll
possible.
Be a hard road, but they could.
Right.
And they're playing really good ball right now. But give them until next year, they could easily make the Super Bowl next year, or at least the playoffs.
Imagine what they look like after Russell Wilson if they get a quarterback in there that's young and talented, what Sean Payton's going to do with them. I think you look at this matchup and you just assume it's easy Bills, Josh Allen. I agree. I'm going with the Bills, but it's not as easy as you think because the Bills is almost a tougher job because I have to do such a big roster overhaul, whereas the Chargers, I don't have to do as much work, but I'm not going to have as many resources. So it's like, do you want to go with the team in a tougher division where I don't have to do as much work, but I don't have as many resources, or do I want to go with the Bills, an easier division, a better quarterback? Yeah, I got to do more work, but I have more resources. I have more backing. The ownership, the GM, whoever's there is going to give me whatever I need to make Josh Allen successful. Without a doubt, if these are the job openings, the Buffalo Bills, who are the 1 seed in our bracket, that is the team you want to go to because Josh Allen is the X factor. And when you have him, he is a scary, scary quarterback, and you can win any matchup you face. You're not worried about 2 teams in your division. Your quarterback already proves he owns Miami. Yes, there's work to be done, but the future looks bright with Josh Allen, and it's the path. Also, I think the path of least resistance. I agree. Give me Buffalo here. That is our show for the day. Ryan, thanks for joining me, my friend. I look forward to this week. We both picked Buffalo to beat Kansas City. We both picked Dallas to beat the Eagles. So safe to say we're going to be wrong on both of those, right? Fair?
I would say so.
Yeah, definitely. Usually if we say something, go ahead and hammer the opposite. So,
hey, if you need proof of that, look at my fantasy league.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like the show, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Your 2 favorite idiots. We're here every week talking football, making you feel smarter about yourselves. Ryan, thanks for being with me, man. We'll see you guys next week. Have a safe weekend. Goodbye.